Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Battle for Azeroth Beta and State of Hunter. I watched the first video I made and I liked how it turned out, so I said, well, let's try to do another class just for a little more objectivity for what I was trying to do. So, not sure which order I'm going to upload these in. I already made one video kind of as a pilot demo kind of thing. So my idea is just to go over the state of blank, basically. Not just in the expansion, but down to the patch, down to the the current time, kind of as a progressive series, kind of go over, revisit things, go over things as changes occur. Just to give more of an overview, commentary type of feedback. Objectivity, I guess, would be the way to say it. So I thought we'd go over Hunter. I tried to make this video before for Hunter in a different format, if I'm being honest, and it just I didn't like how it came out. So I thought, well, this might work a little better the way I did the first video. So first of all, I have been seeing where people have been calling Hunter a revamp, and I don't know that I would really call it a revamp. To me, a revamp, at least in the context of the game, means you pare it down to its its baseline, its baseline abilities. In some cases, maybe their spec abilities, and you build it up from there. When Hunter went from a range to a melee class, that was a revamp. And I realize I may be dealing in semantics here. Revamp, by definition, does imply change. Still, when you compare Hunter to the changes of the other classes, they're about on par, and nobody's saying, well, they've revamped any other class in the game. It's just they've revamped Hunter. So I am coming to the conclusion that people are referring to, when they say revamp, they're referring to survival Hunter. At least that's what I'm assuming. And yeah, so if we look through the spellbook, now Hunter did get more changes than the other classes, which that sounds kind of worse than it is. Each spec got at least one new ability. However, to give an objective, or not an objective, but to give a contradictory opinion, they've always changed Hunter. They've changed Hunter quite a bit with each expansion. I shouldn't say quite a bit, but I mean they've made changes. It's not uncommon for them to make changes to Hunter each expansion, each patch, things like that. Hunter's kind of a what's what I'm looking for. I was going to say oddball, but that's not the right. With their intention that you might be playing Hunter just kind of by yourself. That was the way it was advertised for a while. Is you get to tame your own pet, you get to great for leveling solo, that kind of a thing. It's a bit of a different class than some of the others that are intended for you to maybe level by yourself at PvE and then raid and all this do dungeons, PvP, what have you, all these other things. And Hunter is, just as a side note, fun fact, the most played class in the game. So it is the only class that has a double-digit % for the number of players who play them. So I'm sure that probably has some impact as well. So as we look through the spellbook, you'll notice we got Serpent Sting back. As far as I can tell, it works exactly the way it does before. They just changed the spell button and changed the text a little bit. It does initial nature damage and nature damage over time. They added a new spell, as far as I know, it's new. Wildfire Bomb. It's an AoE ability. Hurl a bomb at a target, exploding for X fire damage in a cone and coating enemies in wildfire, scorching them for X fire damage over 6 seconds. So, in playing with this, I thought it would be better. Again, you have to keep in mind we have in BFA they did a stats squash again, so yeah, there's kind of a learning curve. All your abilities and everything for the most part are the same. We have all of our traps, all of our aspects, things like that. But anytime they've, as far as I know, this is the second time they've done this. You just kind of have to get used to, your kind of the feel of your spells again and what they all do. So, other than that, it's pretty much the same. They added Command Pet, which is kind of a minor thing, and I'll explain why it's a minor thing. If you've ever played Warlock, it does the same thing as Command Demon. It just allows you to use one of your pet's abilities. The interesting thing about that is when you look at pet abilities, there's only 2, and one of them is used by this spell. So pets only have one ability now, which is kind of disappointing. You can't change these. You can't take a tanking pet and make them a ferocity pet or a cunning pet, a tenacity pet, or anything like that. Ferocity is primal rage. It's basically a heroism. Tenacity is survival of the fittest. It's a damage reduction for you and your pet. And cunning is removes all root and movement impairing effects. So, yeah, if I'm going to criticize, a minor criticism would be I don't know why they put something like this in the game. I've went over this, for one reason or another, and I cannot figure out the reasoning why they would put something like this in the game. I don't remember anybody complaining that they needed more control over their pets. You still have a pets bar when you have a pet out. Yeah, especially when it so closely resembles an ability that another class has. It's kind of strange. So, if we were to look at the talents, My biggest criticism for survival would be it plays fine, it seems well-rounded, seems balanced, all that. I just don't fully understand the concept that we're going for. Case in point, flanking strike is now a talent. Now, when you think of a melee hunter, which I'm not opposed to, this is what I think of. I think of you and your pet doing damage together. I don't necessarily think of like a marksmanship hunter, for example. That concept, that theme, if you will. You could even go as far as to maybe say fantasy in some cases, or RP. Makes sense to be playing it by, without a pet. You are meant to be a long-range sniper. You have Lone Wolf, which increases your damage without a pet. It makes more sense. It's not a big thing they push onto the spec, but there are hints of it here and there. You can play it either way. You can use a pet, you cannot use a pet. With Melee Hunter, though, with a Melee Hunter, it seems more like you would want to use a pet. I was really surprised when I saw this talent. Honestly, when I saw that we still had Raptor Strike and Carve, these were the only two abilities I never used in Legion. I used Mongoose Bite, which is also a talent now, and I used Flanking Strike and things like that, and that worked fine. That was absolutely fine, I thought. They were survival hunters in Legion were very good in PvP. You almost exclusively saw survival hunters playing survival in PvP. So when I kept seeing things that, they've revamped Hunter and they've changed survival and so on, things like that, I thought, this is, they've and maybe this is hopeful thinking or maybe unrealistic, but I thought, they've listened to feedback, they've watched, kind of how hunters have been this expansion, and they made changes appropriately. I'm not sure what they did. Yeah, I can't say they've made improvements to Hunter overall. I don't know that they've made it any worse necessarily. I'm kind of just on the fence. I can't. I've played. I have only played maybe an hour or two out doing PvE things, which it doesn't take that long to kind of get the feel of an ability. Like I said, I'm on the fence. My thinking after I first played Survival was I didn't play it in Legion very much. I specifically made a hunter at the end of Warlord, specifically for Legion, when I found out Survival was going to be melee. And it's the spec I've played the least. I played mostly marksmanship. Spec'd for PvP, and then occasionally I would play Beast Mastery, and I did not just PvP, I did all of Argus to unlock the allied races on my Hunter. So I have played Hunter quite a bit in Legion, and I rarely ever played survival. Occasionally, I would change. I would spec into it just to kind of mess around, and that was pretty much it. I was not in it very long, and nothing I did was like, oh wow, this is so cool. I was just like, I miss marksmanship, or I miss beast mastery, or something like that. There's a weird kind of double-edged sword between you get familiar with abilities and rotations and the feel of one spec versus changing to something else that doesn't quite feel the same. I'm not a big fan of melee. However, I think, and I know from experience, if you like a class, you're more willing to do things you might not otherwise do. Shaman is my favorite class in the game, and I will play enhancement. I have played enhancement. I did all the dailies in Mist, and there were a few. I did all my prep grinding and dailies on my enhancement shaman, despite the fact that melee is my last choice of a role to play. So, and I like Hunter about as much as anything in the game, and I just couldn't get into it in Legion to play. So my thinking, playing it on beta, was that I didn't play this in Legion. I'm probably not going to play this in BFA, which is kind of a shame. That's just my personal opinion. That's how indifferent the changes left me. Yeah, I mean, we even have kill command. So it seems like they're intending for you to use a pet, yet they made flanking strike a talent. To me, it's confusing. Yeah. So as we look through the talents, nothing too drastic. They brought back a lot of older abilities, unless they've changed something to work with, a new ability or something they've changed or something like that. I think I did forget to go over. I did coordinated assault, which is, in my mind, it put me in mind of a fancier flanking strike. It does the same thing. You and your pet do increased damage for 20 seconds. However, with coordinated assault, it has a chance to reset kill command. Flanking strike does not. It just increases the damage that, or you and your pet do damage, I should say. Coordinated assault increases damage. Flanking strike, you and your pet do damage. Excuse me. Yeah. Still, it just kind of put me in mind of a fancier flanking strike. Again, using it just kind of seemed kind of lackluster. I only got, in 20 seconds, I only got maybe one reset on kill command. So I don't know if I don't know if not getting the maximum benefit from this was me, or if the spell needs tweaking. Let me put it that way. So if we look at the talents, I took Alpha Predator Kill Command has 2 charges and deals 30% increased damage. So Kill Command's usually been your hard hitter. So, and it even has a 25% chance to reset itself. So between that and Coordinated Assault, you have a 50% chance to have the cooldown on this reset. And it happened once in 20 seconds on average. I did play with this a couple times on a training dummy, and did I use it actually out doing something? I don't honestly remember. Yeah. So some things don't always proc right on a training dummy, so just keep that in mind. In terms of engagement, Harpoon deals damage, generates focus, killing an enemy resets the cooldown of Harpoon. So this is probably more of like a PvP ability, I imagine. I suppose you could use this in PvE. I know hunters would harpoon you in PvP. That was, yeah. Does this stun you? I think stun, or roots them in place. Yeah, I was going to say, because you usually, once you saw it coming, you couldn't move after that. So, not bad. I can think of this in terms of like a charge, something like that does, abilities like this to enhance them are usually good if you use them quite a bit. So, Viper's Venom, Raptor Strike has a chance to make your next Serpent Sting cost no focus and deal an additional 250 initial damage. So, not a bad first tier here. I'm noticing, as a general statement, there's a lot of tiers where you kind of have to choose between one or the other. You might have to do a lot of tweaking, just kind of pick something and then tweak it as you go. That's kind of what I've done here. So I took Hydrobite. Serpent Sting fires 2 additional enemies. Fires arrows at 2 additional enemies near your target, and its damage over time is increased by 10%. So this is a good example. I originally thought that Wildfire Bomb would be better than it was. So I thought Guerrilla Tactics was the kind of the default choice here. Wildfire Bomb has 2 charges, and the initial explosion deals 100% increased damage. It was a little lackluster. Serpent Sting doesn't last that long. It only lasts 10 seconds. I don't remember what the cooldown was when it was in the game the last time before it was removed. Seems like it was longer. I could be mistaken. Again, it's a detail I'm not... I don't exactly remember for sure. I just remember using it, and it seemed like it would stay there forever. So I tried this, and it just lackluster. It's really all I could say. Hydrobite seemed more efficient. You're going to be using Serpent Sting more often, so firing too. I thought of this kind of like a Ice Lance. Ice Lance doesn't do a ton of damage, but being able to fire one and 2 additional enemies, especially when you have a proc, is pretty decent, especially if it crits. So yeah, and this does initial and overtime damage, so probably the way to go. I've played with Butchery before. This hasn't changed, still does what it always did. So yeah. Again, tier 3, kind of the same thing. In practice, I would probably take Camouflage just because I like having Camouflage. It helped out tremendously in Argus. In terms of just kind of playing around with the talents, so I took Natural Mending. Every 20 focus you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on exhale. Yeah, big word. Your self heal. Exhalation. Yes, words. So that seemed pretty. It seemed like something else did this in Legion, and for the life of me, I cannot remember. Which is embarrassing considering how much I played Hunter. Trailblazer, your movement speed is increased 30% anytime you have not been attacked for 3 seconds. I don't like these spells that have the text if you have not been attacked for so long. Because when I'm in combat is when I'm thinking about kind of, okay, what do I need to use? If you're out of combat, you're out of combat. You know, if you're out of combat, you can mount. Why? You know. And if you're not in if you're in combat, you're probably movement speed probably doesn't matter at that point a great deal. I would hedge a guess. And you can use your at least your 2 range abilities as Hunter while moving. So keep that in mind as well. Bloodseeker kill command causes the target to bleed for X damage over 8 seconds. You and your pet gain 10% increased speed while for every bleeding enemy within 12 yards. So again, just giving it a little something extra. Steel trap. Rolls a steel trap at the target location that snaps shut on the first enemy that approaches, immobilizing them for 20 seconds and causing them to bleed for X damage over 20 seconds, damaging and damage other than steel trap may break the immobilization effect. Trap will exist for 1 minute, limit 1. So I feel like we have enough traps. At least personally speaking, you know, we've got a single target and we've got an AoE, so we're good. I couldn't really see much point in this. It kind of does what, I mean, yeah, they bleed. Still, though, it kind of does what traps already do. If I don't want something to move, I have freezing traps. So. Murder of Crows, summons a flock of crows, does the same thing it always did before, basically. So that would be your PvP ability, needless to say. Post haste does exactly what it did before, frees you, disengaging frees you from movement impairing effects. Born Wild reduces cooldowns of aspect of the eagle, aspects of the cheetah, and aspects of the turtle. I can't remember if this was in Legion or not. I know something similar to it was, and of course blinding shot is the same. Yeah, I know something. I know I picked something, and it might have been a PvP talent. Lowered the cooldown of my aspects and my heal. I just don't. Again, detail. Tip of the spear. Now this is where this has been my biggest complaint with having this type of talent system is you end up with abilities that you'd like to take both of, and they're on the same tier. At least with the old system, you could eventually get the points to kind of get all the abilities you wanted at some point. It was just a matter of time and grinding it out. Progression. This is very lackluster in terms of progression, as I'm sure I need not remind you. Tip of the spear, kill command increases the damage of your next raptor strike by 20%, stacking up 3 times. So I don't really like raptor strike. I just never did. To me, it's just not a good ability. Or cleave, or carve, excuse me, carve. I just never, to me, so I thought, well, this, again, trying to, I like to simplify things. You know, my command bar is pretty full already, so you know, if we had like a spell or two fewer, I would probably pick Flanking Strike. So this being the only passive, it was kind of my thinking here. And it increases kill command's damage, and it increases Raptor Strike. So it kind of, yeah, you know, kind of works well with the rotation. Chakrams. I'll be honest, I don't remember what these did in Miss. I didn't play a hunter all that much in Miss. I knew people that played hunter. As far as I know, they work about the same as they do before. They do damage going out and coming back. I had originally taken Wildfire Infusion. This was a little more random than what a little more RNG than what I could get used to. Very, you know, all 3 of these are kind of very situational depending on what you were doing. And I was finding as I was using this on mobs, I would get something that really wouldn't apply. Lace your Wildfire Bomb with extra regions, randomly giving it one of the following enhancements each time you throw it. So you don't get to choose. This isn't like, I think it was like exotic ammunition or something like that, where you got to pick the enhancement that your ability had. This randomly picks one each time. Shrapnel bomb. Shrapnel bomb. Shrapnel pieces pierces the target, causing Raptor Strike and carve to apply a bleed for 9 seconds that stacks up 3 times. Pheromone Bomb. Kill command has a 100% chance to reset against targets coated with pheromones. Reacts violently with poison, causing an extra explosion against enemies suffering from your serpent sting, and refreshes your serpent stings. So if you weren't using kill command for whatever reason, or if you didn't have you know, serpent sting up or something like that, I just found it difficult to use. I couldn't seem to get it synced up. Now the icon changes colors, so I mean, you know which one you're getting. It just, like I said, the spell by itself was kind of lackluster, and I just thought Chakrams was a bit better. So when this is on cooldown, you have this if you need another range ability. Yeah, you know, sometimes mobs aren't always in melee range, so to me this just kind of worked a little better. So yeah, I can't say they, like I said, I can't say they've really made improvements. I can't say they've made it any worse. I'm just kind of indifferent. I was excited. I was you know, I was hyped when I was seeing things, and then I played it and I was just kind of just kind of shrugged my shoulders and I was like, well, this isn't groundbreaking. So if we go to marksmanship, switch this over. If we look in the spell book, they got one new ability, rapid fire. Shoot a stream of 10 arrows at your target over 4.7 seconds, dealing a total of blank fire damage, blank physical damage. Each shot generates one focus. Usable while moving. Again, I kind of looked at this and was like, why? Like I said, I've played marksmanship for most of for all of Argus, for most of Legion now, and I will show you because it is kind of a, it looks cool, but that's pretty much it. Yeah. If we look at the talents, really nothing's changed. Like I said before, they kind of moved everything over. I played marksmanship spec'd for PvP, and that was both PvE and PvP talents, obviously. So, Master Marksman aim shot has a 100% chance to reduce the focus cost of your next arcane shot or multi-shot by 100%. Serpent Sting does the same thing it did as Survival and Murder of Crows. So if I was going to play this if I was going to spec this, I would spec it for PvP, so I'd pick Murder of Crows. I just always liked this spell. I just always thought this was cool. Even when I didn't play Hunter, you'd see people use this. And otherwise, I would probably, again, just trying to simplify it. This is a 20-second cooldown. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would take Master Marksman. Yeah, because I think this is still 30 focus, so it's down from 50. Yeah, it seems like that would be the way to go. Surface Stink's not bad. I think you're gonna want to use something else, either multi-shot or yeah, either multi-shot or arcane shot. And you'll notice too, by the way, these no longer generate focus. Careful aim. I think it does the same thing as it did before, as far as I can remember. Volley. This was, if I remember correctly, and I may be wrong, I think this was an actual ability. I don't think it was a passive. Your auto shots have a 2% chance to cause a volley of arrows to rain down around the target, dealing X physical damage to each enemy within 8 yards. So not bad. Explosive shot does the same thing as it did before. yeah. So probably getting awfully reliant on aim shot here. Probably volley, I think would be good, even though it has a, it's only a 10% chance, which is kind of low. It is an AoE ability. AoE abilities, they tend to take a little more chance on. You never know when you're going to be, in PvE, if you're questing, we've all accidentally pulled something, one mob too many, and things like this, if they proc at the right time, if I realize that may be a big if sometimes, or in PvP, if you're trying to, again, kind of a big if you're close to, killing a tank or something, a DPS, and, this procs at the right time, it'll help you get to that final point before they can heal themselves. So, some RNG is not bad. And these are the same as they were for survival. So again, probably camouflage. I imagine came in so helpful. Didn't really use my heal that much if I could use camouflage. You're pretty much getting around, you're not attacking anything. So steady focus. Yeah, as far as I can remember, works like it did before. Streamline rapid fire now lasts 30 seconds longer. Rapid fire is the new ability. So there you go. And we got Hunter's Mark back. I was excited when I saw this, the old-fashioned Hunter's Mark. I'm of two minds. While I have nostalgia for using Hunter's Mark, I remember applying Hunter's Mark and then using it's like Serpent Sting, Nature Sting, something like that. And then, going into my rotation. It was nice when this was a passive ability. This was the one thing when I saw it, I was like, oh, good, they just made it a passive ability, which seemed like it made more sense. Yeah, needless to say, probably depending on how you used rapid fire in your rotation, I would think Hunter's Mark would probably be the default there. I could see taking Streamlined for PvP. With spells like this, 20 seconds isn't a long cooldown comparatively. With spells like this, I go back and forth in my mind like this. Do I take something that makes it better? Or do I take something that enhances everything overall? If I'm, do you build your rotation around using one ability and then just kind of using other things? Use aim shot, use use aim shot, reduce the cost of these, or wait for this to get off, cool down, or do you kind of try to balance everything across the board, if that makes sense? Out of nostalgia effect, I would probably pick Hunter's Mark, and then depending on how this did in PvP, I really think Streamline would probably be better, because you can use this while moving. So Yeah, one of these two. I would be torn between one of these two. Born to be Wild does what it did before, as long as I can remember. Post haste, blinding shot, lethal shot. Steady shot has a 25% chance to cause your next aim shot or rapid fire to be guaranteed critical strikes. Steady shot is a steady shot has a 25% chance to cause your next aim shot. And steady shot would be... Oh, hello. Yeah, there we go. I overlooked one. I thought that was weird. I was like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm just overlooking everything, aren't I? Did I get all the spells now? So I actually halfway know what I'm talking about. I think I did this time. Okay. Lone Wolf is passive now, by the way. I was kind of glad to see that. I like this this ability. So, and if your pet should die, that was always my frustration in PvP is your pet doesn't always revive with you. It's supposed to, I think, but there are rare occasions, or maybe you went into it without your pet, or for whatever reason you found you were in a situation where you didn't have your pet. Yeah, you don't have to go through this whole thing, or if you need to summon a tanking pet for some reason or something, you can without having to respec your go somewhere and respec your talents or change specs or something like that. Okay, so steady shot. So there's something else. Jesus. Yeah. Okay. 25% chance to cause your next aim shot of rapid fire to guarantee critical strike. So Barrage does the same thing it did before. Double tap, your next aim shot will fire a second time instantly at 100% power. That consuming focus, or your rapid fire will shoot 100% additional shots during its duration. So probably lethal shots, I would imagine. If I was picking one, just for simplicity's sake. I'm not coordinated enough to use spells like this. I'm barely lucky to use True Shot. Call of the Shots. Casting Arcane Shot or Multi-Shot reduces the cooldown of True Shot by 3.0 seconds. Lock and Load. Your ranged auto attacks have a 5% chance to trigger Lock and Load, causing your next aim shot to pass no focus. So that hasn't changed. And Piercing Shot. Damage to a target. Does X physical damage to a target and up to X physical damage to all enemies between you and the target. So probably Lock and Load. Yeah. Lock and Load or Call of the Shots. True Shot is a really good and gain 30% haste for 15 seconds. Yeah. True Shot is a really good ability in most situations. So yeah, there you go. So not, I was more, when I first saw this, I was more concerned that they took away a lot of my PvP setup. So I'm kind of curious to see how it works in PvP. I've tried PvP on beta, and I just don't think anybody's playing it. So if we look at Beast Mastery. Okay, now, first of all, let's make sure I actually got all the spells on the command bar. At least relevant spells on the command bar. And I think I did. Okay. Well, we did that right. Yeah, got one new spell, Barbed Shot, which is a dot. Fire a shot that tears through your enemy, causing them to bleed for X damage over 8 seconds. Send your pet into a frenzy, causing attack speed, increasing attack speed by 30 seconds for 8 seconds, stacking up 3 times. When I saw this, I thought, oh, they got rid of Bestial Wrath. Because it had similar wording. Send you and your pet into a rage. Send your pet into a frenzy. But no. So, I mean, I don't... That's all it does. I don't fully understand why we needed this again. I'm not arguing. I'm just like, okay, I'm just not sure where this fits in with the rotations. So, I guess this is your focus generator. So that would make more sense, I suppose. Yeah. I think that was it for this. I was really glad we still had all of our traps, all of our aspects. I wasn't... when the Legion launch event happened, I wasn't... I think that's when they made the changes to the for the pre-patch. I wasn't exactly thrilled. They changed everything. So, especially classes you don't maybe play that often in one expansion. If you go back and a bunch of things are changed, it's kind of daunting to get back into it. Yeah, and I don't think any of the passives are different. I tend to glare over the passives. Still the same thing I did before. Does okay. So if we go over the talents, you're going to see a lot of familiar talents. Like I said, they pretty much just moved everything over, or I've seen repeats. Killer Instinct. Kill command deals 50% increased damage against enemies below 35 health. Your call pet additionally summons the first pet from your stable. This pet will only obey your kill command, but cannot use pet family abilities. Dire Beast hasn't changed, so probably... Probably Dire Beast, I would think. Yeah. I was going to pick one. Scent of Blood, Barb Shot, grants 8 additional focus over its duration. I see. One with the pack call, Wild Call has a 20% increased chance to reset the cooldown of barbed shots. And Chimera shots, which hasn't changed, it doesn't look like. So I know a lot of people would probably think Chimera shots. Since you only have the one ability now that does that increases focus, what's Wild Call? Did I miss something else? Wild Call has a 20% chance to increase it. Okay, but what is Wild Call? Am I missing something here? Aspect of the cheetah turtle, aspect of the wild version. No, that's the same. And that's the same. Oh, Wild Call. There we go. Your auto shot criticals have a 20% chance to reset the cooldown on approach. Oh, so you have a 40% chance. I see. I mean, you have a... Okay, let's put this here. This here. This. I mean, you don't have a lot of abilities down here, so I could see taking Chimera Shot just to have another spell. That gave you focus. This has 2 shots and it does bleed damage, so you kind of want to let it finish before you reapply it. Dots I get over impatient and I reapply them before their duration is complete, which sometimes can actually hurt you more than it helps you. So yeah, and then you have Cobra Shot to use when things are on cooldown. So I would say you're probably safe in taking Chimera Shot. Otherwise, Scent of Blood maybe. Just so when you do use it, you get a more guaranteed bigger bang for your buck in terms of focus. Yeah. So these haven't changed, so probably I don't think Beast Mastery had Camouflage in Legion. I only remember Marksmanship and Survival having it, so I don't know, probably this or probably Natural Mending maybe. Yeah. I did not play on Beast Mastery or Marksmanship doing anything else on beta. I was just messing around with survivals, so I'm not Venomous Bite, Cobra Shot reduces cooldown of Bestial Wrath by 1 second. Thrill of the Hunt, Barb Shot increases your critical strike chance by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up 3 times, and then Murder of Crows. So I would say Thrill of the Hunt. If you can get criticals off with the Hunter, that's pretty good. Yeah. And you've taken Dire Beast up here, so Bestial Wrath isn't... you know, you have 2 cooldowns, so resetting it's not a major importance. In my opinion, I wouldn't think. These are all the same. Stomp when you're cast Beast or Master, you can stomp the rest. So it's the same ability, just uses Barb Shot now. Barrage, Stampede. I could see taking Stampede or Barrage here. Just to have a little more AoE, because right now you have Beast Cleave, and multi-shots. And this is after you multi-shot. Yeah. And I know even in Legion, it wasn't the best combo. You could multi-shot and you would still end up getting killed before you killed any single target in a mob. So, and I think I took... Yeah, I've tried Stomp before, and I just didn't think it worked all that well. Although if it's tied to Barbed Shot, I forget what it was tied to in Legion. Seemed like it would be really good, and I tried it a couple different times, and it didn't seem to. I was happier with my Barrage, so I would say Stampede or Barrage. Barrage has a 20-second cooldown, so yeah, and this is usable while moving, so I think this is one of those where it kind of depends on your preference. I know some people would take Stampede. I would take Barrage. I know probably some people would take Stomp. So, yeah. Aspect of the Beast increases the damage of your pet's abilities by 30 seconds, increases the effectiveness of your pet's Predator's Thirst, Endurance Training, and Pathfinding abilities by 50%. Will be thrust active Cobra Shot resets the cooldown on kill command. Okay. And summons Spitting Cobras for 20 seconds to attack your target for X. Nature damage for 2 seconds while the Cobra is active. You gain 2 focus per second. So killer Cobra for sure. Yeah. Just keep getting your kill commands, which usually is your hardest hitting. Yeah. Your hardest hitting ability. So yeah. There you go. Oh, I see. Your pet gain 10% leech. Okay. Your pet gain 5% increased health. Your pet gain 8% movement speed. So increases the duration of pets. So this seems more like a rating. Or yeah, okay, I could see this being effective in about anything. Yeah. So this pretty much enhances your pet then. Okay, I see. Yeah. So I would say, again, like Spitting Cobra, not coordinated all that well with this. I picked Killer Cobra and Legion. I'd probably pick this again, just to see how this, kind of set up a rotation, see how it works, and tweak it from there. I could see taking Aspect of the Beast. I think this would be really good in like raids and PvP and things like that, depending on your pet. I mean, gaining 10% leech is not nothing. Yeah. It's leech is one of those things, it's kind of difficult to get if it's not on your gear, and it's usually only on tanking gear. Yeah. So, your pet, 5% increase maximum health. Okay, so that would be good for like questing and things like that. And movement speed, which is, yeah. Movement speed's not helpful, but as far as it being a benefit in situations, it kind of depends. If you're going to die anyway, the speed didn't really help you that much. Carterize for mage increases your movement speed when you're about to die, which to me never made any sense because by that point you're going to die anyway, and Carterize is doing damage to you on top of that. So, yeah. Okay, so there you go, folks. There's kind of a little bit of a review overall. Like I said, I think we're kind of at a neutral point here. It's no worse for the wear. I think a good way to sum up might be to say if you played this in Legion and enjoyed playing Hunter, probably won't change in Legion, or won't change in BFA, excuse me. Like I said, I'm kind of excited to play around with some of with Beast Mastery and Marksmanship. I can't see myself playing Survival. They just haven't changed it enough to really make me interested in it. I feel like I've kind of been there, done that, and it just wasn't for me. So I'm sure somebody will appreciate the changes they've made. It just, for me, like I said, the concept, I have trouble kind of getting into it to play it. And then as I was out doing things as survival, I was thinking, in marksmanship, I could be doing this differently, or I could be doing this better, or something like that. So I don't know, and it wasn't so much like a range thing as it was a damage thing. Like I could be doing more damage if I had this, if I was in this spec with these abilities and things like that. So overall, not bad. Still kind of on the fence about a lot. I will be curious to see when BFA goes live, kind of what the greater community's thoughts are with Hunter. So there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching.